Welcome to MTS Center. I'm Ken Wiebe, along with Sun columnist Paul Friesen. Paul, Kevin Cheveldayoff's first trade deadline as general manager of the Winnipeg Jets is in the books. It was a bit of a quiet day as expected. Jets getting a nice value for Johnny Oduya, picking up second and third round draft picks in 2013 from the Chicago Blackhawks. Also claiming Grant Clitsome off waivers from the Columbus Blue Jackets. All in all, your thoughts on how the day went in terms of the Jets' perspective, both for now and into the future?
So much for clearing the logjam on the blue line. I thought they'd get rid of a blue liner, as they did with Johnny Oduya. No surprise there. And then they bring another guy in and Clitsome. So you're still sitting with how many there? Eight active and healthy, with Zach Bogosian seeming to be ready to go back in. But all in all, if you're going to lose Johnny Oduya as an unrestricted free agent probably this summer, so you're getting pretty good value. I think a second and a third round. I think nobody would complain about that. And Grant Clitsome, interesting. It sounds like the Jets organization kind of had their eye on this guy for a while and thought acquiring him might not be a bad idea down the road. And lo and behold, they get him for nothing off waivers. So that's got to be a bonus for them today.
I had a chance to speak with Clitsome on the telephone today, and he seems very eager. He was part of the game, the first preseason game here at MTS Center. He spoke about how excited he was to be in that environment and to come from a team where you're among the cellar dwellers to being with a team now that's in the playoff race. He seemed very eager about that. Also some familiarity there. Claude Noel had him briefly with the Columbus Blue Jackets when he was an assistant as well. So I think that certainly helped. Interesting thing to me is that Kevin Cheveldayoff made the deal with Stan Bowman, a guy that he worked with in Chicago and won a Stanley Cup with. Here's what Cheveldayoff had to say about what that transaction was like.
Well, the Chicago Blackhawks were very aggressive, right from the onset as to that they wanted, Johnny if he was going to be made available, and stayed very aggressive, for quite a period of time now. So, again, it's a lot of things come down to the end. This is essentially a deadline-driven league. That's why I tend not to let you guys make me put deadlines on myself type thing. So again, it was something that in the end, I hope it's a deal that certainly works for both parties, and again wish Johnny all the best, and just very happy to welcome Grant to our organization.
So the Jets get a defenseman and have one going out the door. Some people were wondering about trading a guy like Oduya. I think it made a lot of sense, though, for the Jets going forward to move a guy who they probably weren't going to get back anyway.
It did. As I said, you're probably going to lose him as an unrestricted free agent. Chemistry in the room is the thing you worry about the most, and Kevin Cheveldayoff spoke about that as well. You don't want to upset that. They seem to have a pretty good thing going right now. Guys are bonded and putting on a good push right now, too, for that last playoff spot. So you didn't want to upset that too much, and I don't think this will do that. And now it's up to Grant Clitsome to kind of fit into that, and that's a tricky thing to do sometimes, right? New group of guys, and where do you fit in that pecking order? But time will tell how that works.
Yeah, the big thing for the Jets is that Clitsome is under contract through next season.
Right.
So they have a little bit of time to work him into the mix, and I think he's going to be a guy that helps them long term.
Mark Flood's probably thinking, oh, gee, just when I thought there was room for me, now we can bring another guy in, right?
How about a quick thought about what happened around the NHL teams, that other teams that made moves? Who made the best impact on trade deadline day?
I think the silence was deafening, right? I mean, no Rick Nash move, which is the big one everybody was waiting for. I don't know what the number of trades there were, but looks to me like Nashville bolstered up a little bit. Boston tinkered a little. I don't know if that does a lot for them, but Nashville might have been a big winner. Vancouver and Chicago both making some pretty significant moves. I'd say those teams have changed the most. Whether it helps them or not the most, I hate to say it until the playoffs start, right? That's what's going to prove it.
Yeah, certainly the Canucks giving up on Cody Hodgson in order to get Zach Kassian and Marc-Andre Grignani. I think
makes them tougher?
Certainly makes them tougher. Kassian's a guy who I saw at the Memorial Cup. He is a physical force, former Windsor Spitfire. I like the grit that he's going to bring to the lineup, but in the short term, certainly Kassian has some skill, but he's more of a banger right now. Hodgson giving you a little bit more, but Hodgson not exactly a prototypical third-line center right now either, and he's not going to get ahead of Kessler or Sedin on the depth chart, so the move makes sense.
And he, of course, goes to Buffalo, not Chicago, as Chicago didn't make any dramatic moves today.
No, just picking up Oduya, and they also sent John Scott to the Rangers.
I see. Okay.
I love the Nashville moves, personally, or I like the Gosted move especially.
Big guy.
The Kostitsyn brothers reuniting, to me, I've not been a huge fan of Andrei Kostitsyn, but, maybe if he's playing with Sergei, maybe they'll be inspired. And if anyone can get the most out of him, it should be Barry Trotz.
Yeah, and they pushed Vancouver to the limit last year, right? And if they even improve a smidge, they've got a shot at going deep into the playoffs, which would be quite something. Of course, Vancouver's improved as well, so that proves to be a pretty good team in the playoffs again, I think.
Yeah, and the most important thing for the Predators is that they're sending a message to Ryan Suter, pending UFA, and RFA Shea Weber that they want to win. And that's something that's a big message that coming down from management and something that should help them in both the short term and the long term as well.
Key, we should know too, Southeast Division teams and the Jets' competition in the Southeast and in the Eastern Conference in general. Perhaps not a big change, right?
No. The Florida Panthers did make the preemptive strike, bringing in Jared Smithson, a energy line center, and Wojtek Wolski, a guy who has a lot of skill, but now he's the second highest paid forward, and he had certainly underachieved at the Rangers. So you understand why the Panthers were making moves, but I don't know that it'll be a big significant impact down the stretch. It'll be very interesting to see. I think the Jets probably have reason to feel good about themselves. Some people wondered if they may get rid of 3 or 4 unrestricted free agents. Instead, they're going to keep them, and you would think that the Jets will open up some contract talks with those guys between now and July 1st, because I think there's...
Not during the playoff push, I don't think.
No, exactly. Kevin Cheveldayoff made that pretty clear. Other than that...
It's now, guys, here's your team. Go play. Go for that 8th spot.
Absolutely. For Paul Friesen, I'm Ken Wiebe at the Winnipeg Sun.